What's happening, boys and girls? How the devil are we? Shanksy here. And today, we're going to be having a little look at the Ice Golem dungeon and a few tips and tricks on how to beat it. So, before we get into that, intro. How's it going, boys and girls? How the devil are we? Right, so, as I've already said, we are going to be getting into the Ice Golem dungeon today. Now, a lot of my community have been asking for more guides and whatnot to do around Raid. So, hopefully, if this video does well, we're going to be whacking out a guide every week, at least for all of the different dungeons in the game. But today, it is all about the Ice Golem. Now, one of the big things about the Ice Golem, guys, is understanding how he works. So, let's cover that. So, this big fella behind me is Clysius, otherwise known as the Ice Golem, and his two little helpers. Now, he's got a really interesting boss mechanic, guys, that if his health dropped below 80%, 60%, 45%, 30%, and 15%, he is going to counterattack every single person with a massive AoE. Now, this attack will also revive both of his minions. Now, before that happens, if he's got one minion up, that is going to counterattack for that big damage and ignore 50% of your health. If he's got both minions up, he's going to counterattack and ignore 100% of your damage. Now, obviously, that can really start to sting. This is where you've got to be super careful with the Ice Golem as well, guys. Yes, you want big hitters. Yes, you want to be able to take him down, but you don't want your traditional boss nukes, such as Royal Guard, such as Cold Heart, because you may actually trigger two thresholds at once. Now, if you were to do that, take him, I don't know, say 85 to 50% health, he's going to counterattack everyone. Then he's going to counterattack everyone again with his minions up and ignore 100% of your health. And this is where people can get very deaded. Very deaded indeed. He's also got a chance to place freeze debuff as well for each ally alive. Basically, that's 80% if his both minions are up. Now, the rest of his skills is attack all enemies, place a 50% decrease accuracy debuff for 2 turns, and then his A1 is basically a big old attack everyone hit, right? Now, you cannot stun him, freeze him, sleep him, provoke him, block cooldown, fear him, or true fear him. Cannot happen. But one thing he is very susceptible to is poisons. Now, this is the beauty about this one as well, guys. If you poison him below the 80%, the 60%, the 45%, the 13%, and the 15% threshold, he will not, I'll repeat that, he will not counterattack you, which is absolutely massive. So you type of want to have a poisoner on your team. But now you understand the mechanics, guys and girls, let's talk about champions, what's going to help you out. Now, keeping in mind the Ice Golem's kit, there's a few things that are going to be able to be a massive help to you. One is a block revive skill. If he cannot revive his minions, then he cannot do as much damage to you on each particular hit. There's a few champions that do block revive. To be honest, the best ones are actually Legos, right? And we're going to try and steer as far away from Legos as we can during these guides. Massive shout out to Arminger here. Arminger is a defense-based champion, hence where we can get him built up really tanky and still do very good damage. So he's a lot easier to keep alive. And he's only got 2 skills. One is going to be a decreased turn meter. The second is going to be a block revive. Now, this isn't always going to pan out. He's not always going to get the block revive on the minions. But when he does get the block revive on those ads, it is absolutely huge. By not being able to bring them back is very good. So, as far as uncommons go, Arminger is the only block revive in the game that's going to be able to do that. But there's a couple of others. And I'm going to show you one in rare and one epic as well that can do that. So for the honourable mention in rares, it is Painsmith. He's a dwarf and his A2 will attack one enemy, and enemies killed by this skill cannot be revived Once booked, it's on a 3-turn cooldown, and it's all right. But I would say one of the best shouts is an epic. Now, in my opinion, probably the best block revive epic in the game would be Phoenix. He's actually got an incredibly underrated A1. So, attacks one enemy, places an extra hit if the target has any debuffs. Enemies killed by this skill cannot be revived. With it being on in his A1, he's actually probably going to be one of your better bets for going down that type of path. Now, the other option is to obviously go down the poison path. If the poisons are tipping it through, then he's not going to be able to counter attack as well. Now, a very, very special shout out goes to Occult Brawler, because he can actually do two things at once. So Occult Brawler can both make sure that they don't revive, although I've got to be honest, it's very, very tough to make sure this comes off, right? And he places poisons as well. So with his passive, at the start of his turn, he places a 2.5% poison debuff on himself, and then has a 70% chance of placing a 5% poison debuff on a random enemy. Now, this is the trouble with this one, is it doesn't necessarily go to the boss. It could go to the ads, but all things considered, he's not actually a bad Ice Golem champion at all. Now, the other epic that's probably the best for AoE poisons, which actually cover the board, is Taurus. Now, I've got to be honest, I'm not a massive fan of this Skinwalker at all, but he does have an 80% chance, 100% chance when booked to place 4 or 5% poison debuffs on every single enemy. So that all of a sudden starts to add up. Personally, I use Richtoff the Bold, who is an AoE legendary poisoner. And to be honest, he's not that great, but it does help. Now, these are for the actual boss themselves. But before we get to the boss, guys, there are going to be 2 waves to deal with, depending on where you're at. Now, if you're doing Ice Golems 20, the second wave can actually be pretty damn tough. And it's a spirit affinity. But the general consensus is going to work across the board here, guys. So, why have I got these guys in my team so far? I've got Tyrell, who is a defense down AoE attack. Really, really solid. And he's also a defense-based champion. Again, allowing me to just build myself a little bit tankier to go through the waves. Then I want some type of shielding. Any type of shielding at all. Miscreated Monster is great at this. Plus, he can get a few stuns off as well to help control those waves. Really, really solid champion. Miscreated Monster. But there's loads of other champions that you can use for these positions, guys. Definitely look into it. I'll leave a link down to Ayumi Love there as well, and just search for shielding and things like that. Then I'm going to have a turn meter manipulation / reviver. Now, to be honest, if I didn't have Gorgrab, I would be then combining this with Reliquary Tender and Apothecary, probably taking out Ray in all fairness. But Gorgrab there to be that reviver, because the way that I attack the Ice Golem, to be honest, I'm going to lose people on the second wave, guaranteed, possibly even onto the Ice Golem. Then I use Ray, who is, to be honest, not the best shout for this. Honestly, a single target would be better. Sometimes the slower that you deal with the Ice Golem, the more guaranteed it is. So you might not be able to do this one super, super quick, guys, because you don't want to be triggering those big Frigid Vengeance hits. So taking Ray out and going in for maybe even more of an Occult Brawler is not a bad shout. And then last but not least, I've got Richtoff the Bold, AoE Poisoner. Again, insert Poisoner. Frozen Banshee's very decent here. Any type of Poisoner, really. Ideally, if you could apply poisons to everyone, lovely of the jubblies. If not, it is what it is. So we're going to put in a Occult Brawler here, and I will show you guys a run. So I'll warn you, boys and girls, right now, I'm not expecting this to be a very quick run. Taking out, obviously, Ray, who I used to clear the waves, is going to definitely slow the run down, but make it a lot safer going forward. Now, the first wave's, to be honest, not too tough, and especially when most of your AoEs and things like that are going to be in full force. The first wave's really not too tough on Ice Golem 20. Now, the second wave is a different kettle of fish entirely. And they put up reflect damage. And again, this is why you don't really want a big nuke either. Royal Guard hitting everyone or anything like that. With that big AoE, it's just going to get them all killed. Simple as that. It's just going to get them all killed. So it is nice to have a reviver on the team without a shadow of a doubt to then type of negate that damage. So we're going to go through the waves here. I would go through this miles quicker had I brought in a big AoE hit. But to be honest, even with Ray, as well as she does on the waves, she makes things a little bit more tricky on the old Ice Golem themselves. So Richtoff is managing to get off all these poisons over there. And we are getting beaten up because of this reflect damage, without a shadow of a doubt. Massively beaten up, in fact. But we'll go through it. Gorgrab will keep the team healed up, keep it moving over, and then we will go through to the Ice Golem. Now, as you can see, the reflect damage buff up here is a big problem. So if you can find anyone that can either block the buff, someone like Umbral Enchantress, for example, or strip the buffs, such as Seer, will make this wave a lot quicker and also get you through to the boss a lot quicker, therefore speeding up your whole time in general and still keeping it relatively safe. So as you can see, smashing through this wave. So we're going to get through this wave at about the 2-minute mark. Occult Brawler, while very safe, is just nowhere near optimal for the wave side of things. To be honest, none of these guys are really built for the waves. Tyrell does a very good job due to his decreased defense, but that's about it. So, onto the boss. We're going to be getting up Richtoff, the Bold, with as many poisons as possible. And this is where Occult Brawler comes in really handy. Is he's going to place a poison randomly on one of the enemies. Now, the trouble is, it's not always going to go on the boss, but when it does go on the boss, it's going to actually work out really nicely for us. Plus, if we get double lucky and manage to proc his A2 at the right time, then all of a sudden it's also going to block the revive for that particular minion as well. So it's not too bad a shout. A lot of people don't rate Occult Brawler here. I think he's incredibly overlooked. And then basically, we've just lost Richtoff there. That's why we've got Gorgrab in the squad. That's why we're going to always want to bring in a reviver at all times. No matter what level you're doing this up, probably from about 15 onwards, ideally you want someone in your team that can revive them. And then we are just going to basically slowly waddle on through. And I reckon, depending on how we get on with the poisons and whatnot, we've got Curse Eater there. Oh, I was so close to permanently blocking him up. I reckon this is going to be somewhere in the region of a 5-minute run. Again, my normal run is about 2 minutes, but I use a few more legendaries and I take a little bit more risk where I might do too much damage with Ray and I might trigger off a lot more attacks on myself. So as you can see there, he actually dropped below one of his thresholds just with the poisons on him. And that means we didn't get that extra attack on us with his minion up there. Super nice, super handy when you can allow them poisons to take you over the edge. Now we got that Frigid Vengeance hit there. I believe that was the 45% mark. And we are back on to the grind. So 4 minutes. I think this is actually going to come up about 5 minutes, guys. Depending on if Richtoff can get some more poisons up. Now, it's worth noting as well that the minions themselves, one will place a decreased defense on you. Sorry, a decreased defense on you, and the other will place a heal block on you. So leaving these ads up is absolutely madness. You've got to be double careful with that. Now, on auto, they will automatically target the ads before going over to the boss. So it's not that much to worry about. There's no craziness where the AI thinks, oh, let's attack the boss first. They do what they're meant to do, right? They attack where they're meant to attack first. And then, at the end of all that, then they'll start laying into the boss. Now, if the boss drops below, and I believe it's actually below the last threshold, at the 15% mark, they will then just start attacking the boss because they know there's no Frigid Vengeance coming back, as it were. So yeah, about 5.5 minutes. This is going to wrap this up. And then we're going to have a little look at what the Ice Golem actually drops. Is he worth it? what is going to be coming out the Ice Golem that you want to keep hold of. So we're going to look at that right now. As far as damage goes, as you can see, a super slow run at 5 minutes 27 seconds, and a Cult Brawler actually put in by far the most damage there. Richtoff at 1.2, Cult Brawler at 1.6, and again, a Cult Brawler does bring other things to this team, you know, like if he can pull off that block revive, it's not going to be all the time, but when he pulls it off, it's absolutely beautiful. So, as far as sets go, we have got life, offense, defense, crit rate, resistance, retaliation, reflex, cursed, and taunting. There's some all right sets in there. Now, I've got to be honest, life, I'd rather use immortal. Offense, I'd rather use cruel. So these two, unless they're absolutely godly, are pretty much going to end up going to be sold immediately. Now, the big three, in my opinion, defense, crit rate, and resistance. Ideally, you want to be able to find your crit rate elsewhere, but if you've got some really nice crit rate sets that's going to boost you up to that 100% mark and then allow you to get some crit damage gloves on or something, crit rate is absolutely beautiful. Defense, you're going to want it on your clan boss guys. You're going to want it on your defense champions. This is an absolutely awesome gear set. Resistance is very, very good for faction wars and for some of that in-game arena side of things, where I'll put my hands up, guys. Retaliation, reflex, cursed, and taunting will sometimes have a place in the game, and you might want to keep maybe the very, very, very best bits. 9 times out of 10, I'm going to be bidding them off for silver without a shadow of a doubt. So, that is the Ice Golem, boys and girls. Obviously, different stages will require some different champions, but the theory is always going to be the same. For the waves, we want decreased defense and then AoE ideally, but nothing too crazy. For the second wave, ideally, if we can get a block debuff up there, lovely of the jubblies. If not, can we strip the buffs? Can we kill them off before they get it up? Or can we revive the people that are going to end up killing themselves by attacking them? So a reviver in there is going to be absolutely clutch. Then on the third stage, you're going to want poisons, 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 and stay away from your typical single target nukers such as Royal Guard, Cold Heart, anyone that does percentage enemy HP. Be very, very, very careful of, guys, because you don't want to be triggering that frigid vengeance. Right, that is it for me today, boys and girls. That is all you need to know about the Ice Golem. Hope it's helped. If it has, do me a massive favour. Give the video a thumbs up. Share it with your pals. Share it with your clan. All that type of good stuff. Show it to your dog. I don't care. A view is a view is a view is a view. But yeah, that is it for me today, guys and girls. I do stream raid quite a lot. Mostly Monday to Friday. Live stream links are down below. Discord links are down below. All that type of good stuff. But until next time, be smart, be strong, be safe. I'll see you on the flip side. You take it easy.